The other day, I was playing 2K, and for some odd reason, I started thinking about some of the rookies from last year's draft class, and I remembered one basketball player who I thought was going to be the best player to come out of the 2024 NBA draft, but I couldn't have been any more wrong than what I was, seeing that this guy didn't even get drafted to an NBA team. So I was wondering what happened to him and why he was not even committed to the NBA draft when at one time he was bigger than Bronny James and was regarded as one of the best young players who could ever be drafted in the future. If you don't know basketball, that's okay. I'll try to keep this video as friendly as possible so that you understand what I'm even trying to say. Mikey Williams was a 5-star prospect going into high school and was #1 ranked in all of the nation for the class of 2023 back when he was still in middle school. That just means that he was extremely talented and had huge upside going into high school. If you were on social media even a few years ago, you should know exactly who Mikey Williams was. He'd be followed by a bunch of different celebrities and he'd sell out gymnasiums wherever he played. And his basketball mixtapes would go viral, getting hundreds of thousands of views. His ability to get to the basket and just hoop was something people really hadn't seen in a while. He looked promising, and even at a young age of 12 to 14 years old, it looked like Mikey was able to turn that pressure into diamonds with the way he continued to dominate on the basketball court. This aggression that Mikey played with during 7th and 8th grade would follow him into his freshman year of high school, where he'd dominate there too, averaging 30 points per game as a freshman and having a game where he scored 77 points. Remember, he was doing this all when he was like 15 years old, which is honestly insane to me because when I was 15 years old, I was probably playing Lego Batman on my PlayStation 2 in my room and not even going outside. And he was over here scoring 77 points in a game after doing like crazy tests for math or like any high school classes. So it's insane. I just know a kid was sick knowing that right after he took the SAT, you'd have to go and defend Mikey Williams on a basketball court. But this hard work paid off because for his freshman year of high school, Mikey Williams won the Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year award. For everyone who was rooting for Mikey, they thought that this was just the tip of the iceberg and he was going to get better and better as time went on. But after his freshman year, Mikey transferred schools for his sophomore and junior years, where he'd average around 24 points per game, which was a drop off compared to where he started his high school career. But Mikey was going into his senior year, and it was time to bounce back to his freshman year stats. Because it was his senior year, the hype was insane, and this hype that Mikey was able to generate led him to get his own endorsement deal with Puma. He'd actually become the first ever high school basketball player to sign with a global footwear company, which was a huge deal at the time because no other high school student had their own endorsement deal with a shoe brand. Now, to try to make his senior year as memorable as possible, he'd returned to his original high school in San Diego. Being in a familiar place should have shot his numbers back up to around 30 points per game, but he'd still only average around 24 points per game, and it seemed like he was checking out of the game mentally. A lot of people felt like he was slower on defense and cared less about winning basketball and more about highlight reels that would show off his individual talent. Obviously, defense doesn't get as much attention as crazy dunks or no-look passes, so Mikey didn't care about his defense because it didn't show up on his stat sheet. But this left the team with a record of 19-13. And if you have a superstar talent like Mikey Williams on your team, you probably think that this team would be undefeated. Because Mikey's stats went down and his competition caught up to him as far as skill went, and also because he was only 6'3", Mikey's stock dropped. Instead of coming out of high school as a 5-star recruit, he left his high school as a 4-star recruit and was ranked 49th on the ESPN 100, with Bronny James being ranked higher than him. Now remember, Mikey was someone who destroyed Bronny when they were younger, so to see Bronny ranked higher than him was actually kind of crazy. It definitely shows that Mikey probably didn't care too much for the game anymore and probably felt like he had a free ride to the NBA because of the way that he played during his freshman year. So he probably just thought that he could just like go really, really hard his freshman year and then kind of just like ride it into the NBA or college careers, just being like an average basketball player because they already saw what he could do his freshman year. He also already got an endorsement deal by Puma, so he got a ton of money in a short amount of time. And trust me from experience, if you get a load of money just thrown at you out of nowhere, it'll definitely slow your motivation to try harder. And I feel like that's what Mikey felt like. I also feel like maybe he was fighting some internal battles because he was now just a regular basketball player instead of this freak of nature next big thing that everyone was labeling him back when he was a freshman in high school. Regardless of him coming out of high school as a 4-star recruit, he'd still commit to the Memphis Tigers, and with his explosiveness, he was being compared to Derrick Rose, but he'd never even play a game for them. That's because he'd find himself in a life-changing legal battle which almost left him stuck behind bars for 28 years. On March 27th, right around midnight, a fight broke out between Mikey Williams and people who were at his house. Now, some people online say that it was his friends that came to his house and they brought a girl to his house as well, and he got upset because of this, but then the news say that they were trespassers who he didn't want on his property. But regardless, this fight went on for a while and it got so heated that Mikey started to show them that he had a gun, and because of this, the people involved would get into their car and try to leave. As they started driving away, Mikey would start to open fire on the car, hitting the truck and the rear window. No one was harmed during this incident, but obviously if you're gonna get shot at, you're more than likely gonna go to the police, which is exactly what they did. He'd be arrested a day later and was charged with 6 counts of felony gun charges. If he was convicted, he'd be facing 28 years in prison. Luckily, he'd take a plea deal and plead guilty to 1 felony count of making a criminal threat. All he had to do was 80 hours of community service, take a gun safety test, and also attend anger management classes. But he was a free man and didn't need to spend his life behind bars. At this point, he was 19 years old and he was supposed to be playing his freshman year of Memphis basketball, but after this whole entire debacle, he was kicked off of the team. Mikey entered the transfer portal and ended up transferring to UCF, but wouldn't be able to play for them either because Florida has a rule where felons can't play basketball. So he had to wait for his felony charge to turn into a misdemeanor after his community service was completed. So it's been really hard for him to stand out compared to the other players within his 2025 draft class. Some websites don't even have him getting drafted, and it seems like his NBA dreams are starting to fade away. It's actually pretty sad if you think about it, because Mikey Williams had it all, but he probably got it way too quickly, and because he got famous at a young age, he wasn't able to handle all of the added attention, and along with the added attention was the money. And once you have a ton of money, you lose motivation to push yourself to do more. At 15, he was hanging out with celebrities and living a life that only some people dream of, and maybe he felt like that was good enough. Now, I don't think he's completely done with the NBA. I think it'll be a lot harder for him to make the NBA, but if he does get drafted, it'll probably be within the second round. If he's able to lock in and show his doubters that he could be that same player that he was back when he first got the national spotlight, then I think he could become a great rotational player for a really solid team. But if he still continues to act nonchalant and act as if nothing matters to him and acts like he just takes the game of basketball for granted, then I don't think his basketball career goes past the college level, which honestly is fine too. I watched part of his interview with Angel Reese before making this video, and he does seem like he has a good personality.
You're not this, like everybody walk their own journey, their own time, everything, and I'm happy where you are, and I hope everything works out for you.
I appreciate you. Yeah, but on that, like, it's like, it's really like something not everybody deal with, is just having a lot of people like paying attention to what you're doing, or you feel me? Because it's like, bro, I low-key didn't let it drive me crazy before, but this when I was younger and I didn't really know how to, I wasn't who I am now then, like, obviously, but yeah, like that, it'll make you low, like, it'll make you put like pressure on yourself, but it's all in the losing. You just have to, like, you just got to be smart enough to understand like all that is just fake. I don't do it no more now. I would have, but actually Kennedy, you told us not to deactivate our Instagrams, all that. Yeah, because I don't be liking to be on there for real.
You be deactivating yours?
Yeah, I didn't deactivate them a few times for like months. Like I don't know. I feel like sometimes like too many people that have access to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you gotta just detach.
Yeah, I think but I feel like it happens to the strongest, the best. Like you chosen. Like a lot of people are not able to be in this position, and luckily you are lucky. You've been able to do a lot of special things, even for your family back home. And regardless of all the negative, like there's people that are still proud of you. And like
that's something you got to remember too.
Yeah, you got to remember the positive.
It for sure.
You can definitely forget.
And if he doesn't make it into the NBA, he always has the opportunity to be a great YouTube basketball player, like a super OP Gio Wise or Julian Newman. He'd still be able to make a ton of money, get a bunch of sponsorships, and be regarded as one of the best content creator basketball players ever. Now, obviously, some people don't like to be regarded as a content creator if their ego is way too big, but it's always an option and an opportunity to make money without the pressure of making it to an NBA team and then the added pressure of keeping a roster spot or minutes on that team. Now, to go back to him possibly missing the opening for getting into the NBA, I do think there's a possibility that he absolutely missed it. 2024 was a really, really weak draft class, possibly the weakest that we've seen in years. So it would have been the perfect opportunity for him to get drafted to a team because of the talent wasn't that great. But this next draft class is a bit better, which again makes it more difficult for him to be noticed by scouts or GMs. Not to mention that more than likely they won't draft him because of his criminal past. There's a lot of times where we see players get passed up because of their criminal past, and this is just another kink in Mikey's path to the NBA. But do you think Mikey will get drafted during this upcoming NBA draft? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, you might as well leave a like on the video and to subscribe to the channel to help us get closer to 200,000 subscribers before the end of February. So please ask everyone to subscribe. I'm talking your grandma, I'm talking about your mom, I'm talking about your brothers, sisters, your cousins, your dog, your cat, your hamsters, maybe your dad, whichever one, all of them, all of the above. Make a second account. I'm just joking. Don't actually do that. But yeah, let's get us to 200,000 subscribers by the end of February. That would be awesome. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.